into responding in a more energetic manner than I might normally have talked about that. But however, I maintain that everything I said is essentially true. And if it sounded like mockery, then I have to be quite frank. It is a belief that deserves to be mocked. It is a belief that deserves to be mocked. And if as a Christian you have a problem with it, do you have the problem? Do you have a problem with mockery? Do you have a problem with somebody severely criticizing falsehood? Because that's what I believe I was doing, and I do believe, and I know I am doing. I know that Christianity is falsehood, and it should be criticized even severely. And if you have a problem with that, just go and read your gospel which you believe in, or your gospels which you believe in, and see some of the things that Jesus said and some of the things that Jesus did. Remember how he went into the temple and turned over the tables of the moneylenders, smashing the place up in anger? Remember his words, how he criticized the Pharisees, called them a den of vipers, an evil and adulterous generation. He said about the Pharisees, about those hypocrites, he said, "You are liars, and your father is the father of all lies, the devil." This is how Jesus spoke. So Jesus himself, according to the Gospels, was quite capable of using some extremely harsh terms. How about when his mother came and his brothers and sisters? He said, "These are my brothers and sisters and my mother." He said to his mother, "Get behind me, woman." So Jesus was not incapable, according to the Gospels, of using some pretty harsh and uncompromising, and even we could say, aggressive tone in criticizing those people who had corrupted God's true message. And that is what Christianity is. Let's spell it out. It is nothing except a corruption and a lie against Allah. I had a series of questions here. It's as if they weren't even listening to what I said. I find that quite frustrating. Why ask a question about something which the answer to it was already given in the talk? Some of these questions have been written by people who didn't seem to understand what I was saying. So, for example, did you study the words of the Apostle Peter? Well, the whole premise and the whole basis of my discussion, which I started, was questioning the historicity of what we have today as the Bible. In other words, I started by showing that it was questionable whether the Bible actually represented the historical facts. And they were questionable because when we study history, we find that the Bible today is a selection of documents selected by a particular group of people with a particular theological way of thinking. In other words, the Bible today has been pre-selected by Trinitarian Christians in order to support their doctrines. However, just today I was reading a very interesting thing about the whole existence of a completely different set of documents, which are the epistles of Peter, that are not included in the present Bible simply because they totally disagree with the present Bible's theological position. Now this person says, did you study the words of the Apostle Peter, who witnessed the life and death and resurrection of Jesus? Peter confirmed and approved the teachings of the Apostle Paul. Yes, perhaps in the Bible you have today. But if you read these other documents, that they exist, and we have fragments of them, and we have major segments of them, they say quite a different story. Peter does not agree with Paul at all, in fact. And that's what's very interesting. We find the existence of, they are called now, of course, by Trinitarian Christians, sects. But people like the Ebionites and the Nazarenes, there is a group of early Christians who believed that Paul was a heretic, that he perverted the true gospel of Jesus. So this is the whole basis of my discussion, because we wanted to find the truth about Jesus, and then when we realized that when we try to look for truth, we have some methods that we employ. We study history. We study facts. It's not based upon faith. Faith may or may not lead you to the truth. But let's face it, as Christians and Muslims, we all agree. We both agree, Christians and Muslims, that people who have faith in the devil and worship him and believe in him have not reached any kind of truth. But it's still a faith. People have different faiths in different things. People have faith in Krishna. People have faith in Buddha. They have faith in those things, and they believe that their books are true. But what does that establish? And this is my point. What are the means that we use to distinguish truth from falsehood? No Christian has written down to me yet in all of these questions the first question I asked. The first question I asked, I would have liked them to write a response to it. This is the way that we know what's right from what's wrong. This is the way we determine truth, but no one's written that down. Okay. Please announce there is a sister who is trying to leave by car and someone is blocking the way and the registration. It's a cream Mitsubishi RDG 722. So could RDG 722, if you're like me, you never remember your registration number. It's a cream Mitsubishi. Please, whoever it is, move your car. Okay. And this answers so many questions here. So this is my point. The Bible does not represent the truth about Jesus. It represents a viewpoint. And that is the most any honest person can say about the Bible. No, we're not having a debate. We are not having a debate. You're not entitled to enter into a conversation like that. Okay? So I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We're not taking questions from the floor. It's okay. Okay, the next question is Christ lying when he claims to be the only way to the Father? Now, again, we go back to the same thing. And the person quotes the Gospel of John. Again, this person totally fails to seem to have listened to what my talk was all about. By quoting the Bible and saying Christ said, it's as if the person was deaf. And like I said, you can't make the deaf hear, can you? You can talk to them, but they don't hear what you're saying. Maybe my English is not good enough, or their English is not good enough, or maybe I just don't make sense when I'm speaking. Okay? But however, let's go to John 14:9 actually. I have a very interesting thing here. It says, consider the following sayings of Jesus found in John's Gospel alone. That's the operative word, alone. Only we find these sayings in John's Gospel. Check it out. John chapter 14:9. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. John 6:35. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. John 8:12. I am the light of the world. John 8:58. Before Abraham was, I am. And in John 10, 11, 14 and 15 in various chapters, I am the door of the sheep. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, the life. I am the true vine. Now, this is what he goes on to say. Christian scholars tell us that if Jesus had made all these fantastic claims about himself, the first 3 Gospels would surely have recorded them. Mark was written around 70 CE, that's 70 years after Jesus, Mark, which is supposed to be the earliest Gospel. Followed by Matthew and Luke, somewhere between 80 to 90 CE. John, written about 100 CE, 100 years after Jesus. It was the last of the 4 canonized Gospels. The Christian scholar James Dunn writes in his book, The Evidence for Jesus. Now, listen to what he says. If they were part of the original words of Jesus himself, how could it be that only John picked them up and none of the others? Call it scholarly skepticism if you like, but I find it almost incredible that such sayings should have been neglected had they been known as a feature of Jesus' teaching. If the I ams, because it's saying I am, if they had been part of the original oral tradition, it is very hard indeed to explain why none of the other 3 evangelists made use of them. And then he quotes also from the New American Bible. And this is important. He says, it is difficult to know whether the words or sayings attributed to Jesus are written exactly as he spoke them. The church, the church was so firmly convinced that Jesus taught through her that she expressed her teachings in the form of Jesus' sayings. This is the New American Bible. It is stating in no uncertain terms what? That the church, and here, by the way, it means a church, the Trinitarian church, the church that believed in the Trinity, which was one of many different churches. This church is doing what? It is expressing its belief in this book, the Bible, in the Gospels, putting into the mouth of Jesus its teachings. Not concerned with whether this is historically true or not concerned with whether Jesus really said it or not. That was what not was important. They were convinced that we are the church, what we believe is right, and therefore we will put these sayings into the mouth of Jesus. No other authority less than the Cambridge History of the Bible. This is one of the authoritative books on the history of the Bible. States, and I've got it at home, that what you call the biblical canon today grew up along with the doctrine of the church. As the Trinitarian church evolved its doctrine, it also collected bits of sayings that were in accordance with what it believed. That does not establish, by the way, the truth of anything. It does not establish truth. It just establishes a version of events that agree with what I believe. Okay? And this is what I was getting at. This is the whole purpose. It's not anything really a person could put their faith and their trust in. We had other questions about the nature of God. How can God do this? Why can't God do anything? I already answered those questions. If you think God can do something stupid, if you think it's possible for God to do something stupid, I don't know, you deal with that. I don't believe in a God that does stupid things. And I don't think it's possible for God to do something stupid because God is all-wise. Something that is all-wise means to me that such a thing never would, never could do something stupid. If God can do anything, I'll ask you, can God stop existing? Can he stop existing? I mean, it's all theoretical. God is God, and God does godly things according to his nature. That's simple and easy to understand. And my example, by the way, of the square and the circle was to illustrate the point. Okay, what does it mean to us as human beings to say the square became a circle but still stayed a square? And I just want to, I'm being pushed to finish. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good questions. But I would like to leave everybody with a thought. A very important thought. And especially